This is Meltdown Live, presented by MyBookie.ag. Use code NEXTROUND at MyBookie.ag for double your initial deposit. You sign on to make a deposit, they double it with code NEXTROUND at MyBookie.ag. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere. MyBookie.ag.
Welcome in. This is the Meltdown, and we are live from the Culver studio here on this Tuesday, the 25th of March. Appreciate all of you being here. We call this place Meltdonia, and we are thrilled to be around the pop culture campfire for the next hour or so as we have a lot to talk about. Joining me here in studio to start the show, who knows who else will join the fray, is Mr. Tyler Lionel Johns making his grand entrance here to the Meltdown. Tyler, how's your Tuesday treating you, my friend?
It's been pretty good.
Busy.
Been busy, very busy here around Disrupt Media. Last night I was able to wow. Last night I was able to see a movie early.
Wow, it left you speechless.
Yeah. Wow, I think I had a stroke. It was Death of a Unicorn though from A24. It stars Paul Rudd, Jenna Ortega, and Will Poulter.
Looks awful.
It's a horror comedy, so I'm not surprised you think that. I was watching this movie last night and thought, yeah, Tim would hate that character. He would hate that character,
Yeah.
and he would definitely hate that character. But I think this was really solid. It was very Jurassic Park. There were even some direct references to the original Jurassic Park. There was one scene where Jenna Ortega, without spoiling anything, obviously, she's in a car and she's using her phone flashlight. And I saw that and I was thinking, I wonder if they're referencing the T-Rex scene from Jurassic Park 1. And then maybe 15, 20 minutes later in the movie, there's a character that yells, "Shoot her! Shoot her!" It's like they are
All right.
definitely referencing Jurassic Park all throughout this movie. So if you want a comedic version of Jurassic Park with unicorns, I would really recommend Death of a Unicorn. I think it's easily the best horror comedy we've gotten this year.
And there's been so many. You've convinced me, Tyler, that I am going to go watch Jurassic Park. I'm
Yeah,
going to do that.
okay.
You've convinced me.
You had me in the first half.
Good. It is spring break here still. I'm going to be mentioning that all week long. So we are running around like a unicorn with our heads cut off here while so many different schedules are intertwining and so many different production things are going on. So we're a little bare bones here currently, but we will pick up the pace for sure throughout the remainder of the show. I'm still playing a lot of Balatro on Xbox, which I love. It's a draw poker game that has a bunch of different twists and turns with different level up cards you can use. Highly recommend it for those who have Xbox Game Pass. But I want to get right into our top story, and that is Ben Affleck, who is speaking about his time spent as the Caped Crusader. Yes, he says playing Batman was, quote, a really excruciating experience. He gives a lot of reasons for that, saying, quote, I am not interested in going down that particular genre again, not because of that bad experience, but just I've lost interest in what was of interest about it to me. But I certainly wouldn't want to replicate an experience like that. A lot of it was misalignment of agendas, understandings, expectations. And also, by the way, I wasn't bringing anything particularly wonderful to that equation at the time either. I had my own failings, significant failings in that process and at that time in terms of why I had a bad experience. Part of that is that what I was bringing to work every day was a lot of unhappiness. So I wasn't bringing a lot of positive energy to the equation. I didn't cause problems, but I came in and I did my job and I went home. But you've got to do a little bit better than that. Tyler, one of your Meltdown countdowns was to list the 5 best Batmen of all time. And Ben Affleck did not make your list of top 5.
Correct.
Tell me why.
Um, Honestly, I don't think it has anything to do with Ben Affleck. I think it's entirely to do with the shoddy writing and organization that was the DCEU.
You had George Clooney ranked ahead of Ben Affleck.
Yes.
So that's probably the most poorly written project of all time, right? Batman and Robin.
Oh, that's terrible, but that's like in like a B movie way.
Oh, okay. I get
Like
what you're saying.
George Clooney is like the B movie version of the Adam West Batman.
I actually get what you're saying. I don't think this is a cop out. I think you're making a lot of sense because Batman and Robin can be perceived by some as a guilty pleasure movie.
It's campy fun. Like, I love that Coolio just shows up in the movie,
Yeah.
and for some reason, they don't have him, like, with Mr. Freeze at all. They have him as, running this random street, like, bike racing competition in Gotham City
Mhm.
that, Barber shows up to. Um, just so many wacky things in that movie. They were really swinging for the fences.
It's a very quotable movie.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I mean, there's going for it. But if you look at some of the writing to back you up even further, like Ben Affleck went on to talk about the tone of the movie, right? And he thought it was a huge misfire that the movie was too adult, that like this isn't a Batman that kids could enjoy. And that's why maybe it started to create a big issue for them with the character in this world they were building.
Well, that was my main issue with the DCEU as a whole was that traditionally every sort of Justice League superhero other than Batman is like happy-go-lucky, bringing hope and just representing the American future in the case of Superman. And then you've got Batman as like the opposite of that,
Yeah.
as the very cynical and dark superhero. And then Zack Snyder kind of made it where all the superheroes were just kind of dark.
Yeah, we had a sad Superman for sure.
Yeah.
And you know, I I didn't like Man of Steel and how that got the DCEU up off the ground. I didn't like that one at all. And it only got worse from there. Batman v Superman was a real chance to hit the reset button. And when they launched that second trailer on Jimmy Kimmel Live,
Spoiled the movie.
it was awful. It was really bad. It shows that Batman and Superman team up at the end, and it's like, why are you going down this road? The whole point of the selling of this is that these two are going to fight to the bitter death, basically. And now you're spoiling that they're going to team up at the end to fight, a big giant villain together. And the villain looked awful, right?
Yeah, it was
Abomination? Oh,
Doomsday.
Doomsday. Sorry, it
And
was an
and
abomination.
the problem is like as soon as you get the hint of Doomsday being in the movie,
Yeah.
you know exactly how it's going to end because Doomsday has only done one interesting thing in the entire history of comics,
Yeah.
and that is kill Superman.
And Zack Snyder, uh, I think Zack Snyder there's so much to like about Zack Snyder, and there's so much that's frustrating.
Oh
He's
yeah.
he's almost too loyal to the source material a lot of the times. Ben Affleck went on to say, quote, "It started to skew too old for a big part of the audience. Like even my own son at the time was too scared to watch the movie. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh, we have a problem." Then I think that's when you had a filmmaker that wanted to continue down the road and a studio that wanted to recapture all the younger audience at cross purposes. Then you have two entities, two people really wanting to do something different, and that is a really bad recipe. There's no doubt in Joss Whedon's Justice League, Batman is more of a comical character.
Oh yeah.
Like, there's even the joke in there that where Flash goes like, "What's your superpower?" And he's like, "I'm rich," and it's like that's like the oldest Batman joke in the book, and they did it on screen. And it's not that it's not funny. I kind of chuckle at it, but it's like that was the whole movie. It was kind of like a gimmicky sort of wink and nod type experience, that Justice League movie from Joss Whedon. It
It
was
was
awful.
very openly we have to catch up to Avengers
Yeah. And it was
instead of just doing its own thing.
very, very poorly done. And then you got Zack Snyder's Justice League years later after fan petitions online, and it was better, but it was also very pretentious and dark. I mean, it's like
And also what, like 4 hours long?
and shot in postage stamp style where you are presented in that, where you had like this very
It was in 4 by 3?
yes, it was.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
I never actually watched it.
oh well, if you want to waste 3.5 hours of your life.
Yeah, that's why I never watched it.
No, I there was a period of time as a Batman fanatic that I was very upset with the direction they were going.
Mhm.
And it was from the end of the Dark Knight trilogy up until we finally got Joker. Joker was the first time where I was like, okay, they're on to something. And I knew Joker was going to be a smash hit, and it ended up becoming the highest rated R-rated movie of all time. Deadpool and Wolverine has since surpassed that, but Joker was a smash hit. Oscars, I mean, just huge cultural relevance. And then they ended up ruining that momentum with Joker Folia do. But that's why you also got The Batman,
Mm.
right? With Robert Pattinson. And I don't really buy into the whole audiences can't handle a darker Batman when The Dark Knight is an extremely dark movie. Batman Begins is a dark movie. Dark Knight Rises is a dark movie. The Batman is a very dark movie.
The Batman is so dark that several times on this show, I've referred to it as an R-rated Batman movie. It is not R-rated,
It is
as
not.
you have corrected me multiple
But
times.
it did spawn off a TVMA Penguin series that's
Mhm.
also very dark.
Yes.
So the fact that Ben Affleck is coming out today, or he's talking to GQ about this, he probably talked to him a while ago. But the fact that he's like, it was too dark, that was the problem. No, it was too dumb, that was the
Yes.
problem. Like, look, if he's trying to do this whole thing so that way people will be like, no, actually, you were a great Batman. I kind of understand that play because he was not a bad Batman. Ben Affleck got a lot of hate early on. He was not a bad Batman. He was in a bad universe. He was in a bunch of bad movies. But I would have loved to have seen a solo Batman movie starring Ben Affleck. And if they announced it,
Well, he was supposed to be starring in a solo Batman film that he was also writing and directing,
correct.
and that never happened.
It never happened. And why do you bring Ben Affleck into your universe if you're not going to let him direct? Because
He's a good
he's
director and writer.
proven.
Yeah,
Argo won Best Picture. I mean, he didn't get nominated for Best Director, but the movie won Best Picture. I
that's
mean,
odd.
it is odd. But like people don't like Ben Affleck, but they like his work. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Like the whole dichotomy of him.
Everybody loves Good Will Hunting, but you bring up that Ben Affleck, like, helped write that.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no,
Well,
no, it was really just Matt Damon.
he's had some stinkers, and
Yeah.
nobody likes Geely, starring his now two-time ex, Jennifer Lopez, but one of the worst movies of all time. But I guess the point I'm getting to is like, if he wants to rewrite history and that it was just too dark of a take and audiences weren't ready for that yet, I don't think that that is genuine. And I think he knows that's not genuine. Like the scene that made everybody go, I've got to either pick an on ramp or an off ramp is the Martha scene. Okay. From Batman v Superman.
Yeah, that is definitely the scene where you're either getting ready to suit up to be a DCEU fanboy or you're breaking out the torches and pitchforks. There's really no middle ground either.
I've never seen in an audience a situation where the air leaves the room as quickly as the Martha scene because they just beat the absolute pulp out of each other, right? And it's everything that like comic book fans, Batman facing Superman. Now, Superman fans probably weren't too thrilled because Batman was, winning the fight.
Mhm.
But I mean, it was brutal fight. Like, if I'm gonna watch something on YouTube from Batman v Superman, it's just the fight between those two. And then you get to the Martha scene, and it undoes the tension of that fight completely. It undoes the stakes of that fight. The world's greatest detective doesn't know that Superman's mom's name is Martha. I mean, even then, why does it have such an effect? We get it. Batman loved his parents, right? We get that Batman's Achilles heel is the fact that he lost his parents at a young age. We know that that defines everything about him from that point forward in his entire existence and his entire motivation. But the Martha sequence was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. And I could not believe it was like there's somebody in the writer's room going, guess what I just came up with? And everybody in there went, that sounds great. Let's go with that. That sounds
And
like a
it
really good
not
idea.
only that, but then it made it through multiple different cuts and
Yeah.
edits, and they were like, "No, we're keeping this Martha scene."
Yeah. No, the Martha scene is the conclusion of this fight
Yes.
because we got to get them to the point where they team up. Like, so once they both realize as mama boys, as mama, I was ready for Bobby Boucher to come in there. My mama named Martha too, and like them all three fight together, you know. You don't talk about Martha that way, and then he's just doing linebacker hits over the middle. I mean, it's awful. I cannot believe that happened. And oh, by the way, when that moment happens, there are already multiple movies in production or already multiple movies that are slated. Suicide Squad's about to come out. Like, there's no going back at that point. They'd moved too far ahead thinking they had a certified hit. Like, how do you mess up Batman and Superman being in the same movie? And I worry that James Gunn, he wants Batman and Superman in the same movie, And I worry it's not going to work. People like a grounded Batman. People like, ultimately, the Robert Pattinson Batman. There may be parts of it where you think are slow or whatever, but ultimately he's over right now. And they need to really get a second chapter of him done correctly before they continue to battle behind the scenes about whether or not he should be a part of the bigger picture DCU Justice League sort of team up. General audiences don't want comic book fare. General audiences want good movies starring comic book characters.
Absolutely.
That's what made the MCU work. Iron Man is a good movie, minus the fact that it is a comic book movie.
Yes. It's a redemption story. It's a story of uh, the military industrial complex, so it's got a political side to it. And then plus you got robots just beating the hell out of each other.
Yeah.
But what is not to love with Iron Man? Deadpool 1 works so well and is a movie people go back to so much
Mhm.
because at its heart, it's just a story.
Right.
It's just Deadpool trying to beat up all the baddies to get back to his girl and save her.
Right. Madam Web is not a good movie. Madam Web is hardly even a comic book movie. It's like the worst offense.
It is an ad for Sony, the entire movie, and they just shoehorn all their products in regardless of time. Like, it was supposed to be set in 2002, 2003, and there's a sequence where they're on a subway train, and there's a guy playing a PSP. And I was like, that did not come out until, like,
doesn't work.
06, 07.
It's a mess. You know, do you know the amount of people that I've talked to that love The Dark Knight and have never seen Batman Begins?
Oh, yeah, oh, and have not seen Batman Begins?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But
I
they
believe
love
it,
The Dark
though.
Knight. The Dark Knight's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love The Dark Knight. It's so good. Oh, what'd you think about Batman Begins? Haven't seen it. And I always am like, oh, that's interesting. And the point I bring up is this, like, The Dark Knight is looked at first and foremost almost like as just a crime movie, not even as a Batman movie. That was the genius of
Mhm.
that breaking through the way it broke through, which is what led to The Dark Knight Rises getting the amount of money it got, because everybody had to see what the next chapter of that story was.
Absolutely.
Batman Begins was more one of those things that like solidified, okay, we're going to take care of you, Batman fans. Show up for the next one. And that worked to get Batman fans energized about The Dark Knight. But then general audiences gravitated towards The Dark Knight because it was just an epic crime saga. And they didn't feel like they needed to watch Batman Begins. They didn't feel like they needed to get caught up on anything. They could just go in and enjoy it.
And that
And
epic crime saga, as you put it, has led to the literal Gotham epic crime saga from Matt Reeves.
Mhm.
I mean, the Batman is a detective movie. It is Seven,
Yeah.
but in Gotham City.
That's another thing that failed Ben Affleck's Batman. His Gotham was not interesting.
Oh no, not at all.
His Commissioner Gordon, not interesting. Like his
I forget who played Gordon.
so that was J.K. Simmons that played
You're
Gordon.
right. It was J.K. Simmons.
Yeah, I know.
How does How do you get J.K. Simmons in there and he doesn't deliver a memorable performance?
Do you know who played as Alfred?
Uh,
Yeah, exactly. Not
oh no,
memorable.
was it Andy Serkis?
No. Andy Serkis is Robert Pattinson's Alfred.
You're right. Yes.
I bring this up because you're making my point, right? It's Jeremy Irons.
You're
So
right.
I know you're like, oh my gosh, how many more tricks are you going to pull here? But
How did I forget Jeremy Irons,
because
voice of Scar?
the entire world of them sharing Twin Cities, Metropolis and Gotham, like that it just doesn't work. It's not memorable. It's not unique. We never explored the mean streets of Gotham before we have Batman jumping down from the ceiling, branding people with an iron and stuff. Like, yeah, maybe that is a little bit too much for the Batman sort of equation in this. But look, the warehouse sequence, that may be actually the thing that I go back and look at even more than the Batman Superman fight. But like the warehouse sequence where he's just destroying some thugs. It also leads Batman fans to a lot of arguments about, whether or not Batman should be as brutal as Ben Affleck's is because he has a pretty good kill count in that movie. However, every Batman, if you go back and watch, I mean, they all kill some people. Like,
Let's not pretend that
let's not
Batman
pretend.
like dropping someone from a roof
Yeah.
or like breaking their arm and saying "now talk" isn't brutal.
Yeah, I mean, it's so
Like
this
it's a meme for a reason.
yeah, this whole thing about it was just too dark for it to be for it to work for all audiences is not correct. It was just too dumb. So there we have it. Ben Affleck talking about his time spent as Batman and us reacting to it today.
I mean, Dark Knight was so dark that a lot of people still think to this day that Heath Ledger died because of his performance as Joker.
That is correct.
I uh, I think audiences were ready for it because that performance is beloved.
It is. And it will go down as one of the greatest on screen performances of all time. We go to this. We got a new trailer today for Final Destination Bloodlines. Tyler and I both watched this trailer together today. It is in theaters and IMAX on May 16th. It is the final on screen appearance of Tony Todd, who passed away in 2024, um, most notably known as Candyman. And he's in this movie. And I think the movie looks decent, but I think this trailer, if you haven't watched it, my advice, don't.
Don't
Like,
watch this
it's
trailer.
not because it's a bad trailer, it's because it just shows way too much.
It shows the entire story. I could fill in the gaps
Yeah.
from here, and now all we're missing is like the kills that haven't been shown in the trailer.
And there was a lot of them. There's a lot of
Yeah.
them of like step by step how the kills happen, even.
Yeah.
So, like, what looks like it's going to be 15 minutes of screen time to like set up a kill, they jump cut and you get in like 10 seconds, 30 seconds, knowing exactly how it's going to work. And I'm like, that's sort of the joy of a Final Destination movie. I don't want to see it
Yeah.
play out in the trailer where you show setup, danger, payoff in the trailer. I don't want to see that. So I thought it was a misfire from that standpoint. But there's so little to get excited about at the theaters that this one may actually get some buzz, may get some people over there because horror fans are extremely loyal and they're going to go check this out. And my goal is to try to forget about the trailer between now and then. The only problem is we're going to end up seeing that trailer played in front of multiple movies. It's just going to
Including probably the one this week, The Woman in the Yard.
That is correct. And it's just going to reiterate the entire sequence of how that's going to play out. So I was a little frustrated with that. Tyler, I don't know if it frustrated you as much as it frustrated me, but what do you think of the new Final Destination Bloodlines trailer?
I mean, it's like you said, it gives too much away. I really preferred the first trailer where it focuses on one kill, and
Mhm.
that's when I think it's okay to show a little bit of setup, a little bit of payoff in that regard. But this jumped between like a lot of different ones and showed kind of how they were all gonna happen.
All of them.
It's I feel like I don't even need to see the movie.
Like, I'm sure it's going to open up with what happens in that first trailer. And at that point, that character's fate. So it sort of
Yeah.
takes away the tension. You know exactly how it happens. It's just too much, and it's like, okay, I've seen that. I know how that works. Oh, that character's popped up. Okay, I know how they end up exiting screen left. I don't know. I thought it was a misfire.
I thought it was another huge mistake to start getting into the lore of Final Destination in the trailer.
Yeah.
One, maybe I just need a refresher on all the movies because I didn't even really know there was like lore to it. Um, and also it allows you to just fill in the gaps and go, all right, here's the different beats this movie's probably gonna take because I have seen
Yeah.
similar movies.
I have a former colleague of mine, John Saber, you know him, that is very adamant about not seeing trailers in the theater. He will even walk out if he feels like there's a trailer on that. And I know you've started to implore maybe some of that a little bit, like you don't
Little
want to be
bit.
spoiled by things. I do feel like Final Destination is a trap trailer in that not that it has Josh Hartnett directed by M. Night, but that it shows too much. And I think Sinners, the Michael B. Jordan, the second trailer for that shows way too much.
Yes.
I'm so hyped for that movie. I mean, it is the first movie I'm going to see that is in my 10 most anticipated movies of the year. And I'm very excited for Sinners. And I need Sinners. We all need Sinners to be a huge hit. Like
Theaters need sinners.
theaters need Sinners. Um, we all need that movie to work. And I worry that it's shown too much too. We go to this. Speaking of horror, one of my favorite movies of all time, Halloween, 1978, directed by John Carpenter. Two of your favorite movies of all time, They Live and The Thing,
Mhm.
both directed by John Carpenter. So we have an affinity for John Carpenter.
Yes, we do.
This is not going the way maybe you think it's going. This is not about Bong Joon-ho,
Yeah,
and
we already talked
we
about
already
that.
talked about that. This is about John Carpenter saying, I would love to direct again, given the right circumstances. But I'm not the same kid anymore who will do it for any amount of money. I can't back into a budget anymore. I'm too old. It's too hard. The studios aren't what they were. They're kind of these old bones of dinosaurs sitting there. It's sad now. This is not the business I got into. But the pull of it, the attraction, the legend of it stays the same. He sounds like a professional wrestler that says, I got one more match in me. And I would love to see one more John Carpenter movie, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sign me up. Where can I buy tickets right now? I don't even know what the movie is. It hasn't been written yet, hasn't been shot, but I'm there.
I'm all about it.
Employees are asking me to leave.
I don't know, obviously, what type of material he would get excited to work on. He's done so much, but I would love a horror movie from John Carpenter. And here's my thought, right? The only problem is he's already sort of burnt through Blumhouse. I don't think Blumhouse is interested just because they got the Halloween franchise for a hot minute. They brought John Carpenter on as a special advisor, sort of. They had him out on the promotional tour saying, okay, these are good. I don't think that relationship will continue. So the question is, who would hire John Carpenter? What would be the budget? Because he's saying, I need a budget to work with. And Blumhouse also is like notoriously tight on their budgets.
Yeah, yeah. You get $2 million to make the movie, and that's when we're being generous, but we'll spend 10 to market it.
Yeah, that's typically the way it goes, which is, why
It's
we're
worked for them.
gonna get sucked into another one of those Blumhouse movies here very soon. But anyway, I'm putting it out there in the ether that I would love to see John Carpenter direct another movie. It does not have to be a Halloween movie. It doesn't make sense for it to be a Halloween movie. That's not even part of the negotiation here. I just want to see another John Carpenter movie out there that's new in cinemas. We go to this. Sony has removed its Street Fighter film adaptation
Mhm.
from its release calendar and has since shifted Tommy Wirkola's shark thriller called Beneath the Storm, now titled Shiver, from August 2025 to July 2026.
Couple of things here.
Yes.
One, that shark movie name, both titles, garbage. So, second thing, Street Fighter, that production's been having a rough go of it. They lost their directors. Gosh, this would have been close to a year ago now.
This is not a hot take. There will never be a good Street Fighter movie. That's all.
That's not a hot take at all.
I said it's not a hot take. There will never be a good Street Fighter movie.
Danny and Michael, Filippo, the Rocka guys that made Talk to Me, they were slated to direct. They had a new logo that looked sick. And then because of scheduling, they've got a prequel to Talk to Me coming out, as well as a sequel, and I think a separate movie from A24 as well. So they're gonna be very busy in the horror genre, which is their bread and butter. Um,
You
so yeah,
loved Talk to Me.
Talk to Me, I think, is like a modern horror classic. I think it just really it just really focuses on what makes horror good. We're going to focus on the scares, make you unsettled for the rest of the night. And another thing I really like about that movie is all the characters feel fleshed out and real, as opposed to like in a slasher movie where each character is kind of just like a caricature of like a certain clique of the 80s or whatever,
Mhm.
or just like this sort of friend group or whatever. Everybody in Talk to Me feels real. Each character's relationships with other characters are unique and they evolve over time. And you really grow to love every character in that movie in their own way.
Had those characters been Americanized, or had there been a more domestic version of that story,
It would have been more
it
successful.
would have been a bigger hit.
Yes.
But I mean, it's still loved by people who saw it and champion it. But
You just got to put up with the Aussie accent for the movie.
that is correct. But you know, I didn't love it as much as everybody else. But the people who have loved it, I mean, just absolutely It is their bread. It's not only their passion that comes through when they talk about it, but they just have such a defense of it. And I didn't hate it. It just didn't light my world on fire like everybody else.
Man, I don't know. Maybe you need to revisit it. I actually thought about buying the replica hand that A24 sells for the
It
studio.
does look like it belongs in here.
It
Let's be real.
does.
Yeah, yeah.
It
But
does.
anyway, if you happen to be a Street Fighter and you get your teeth knocked out, there's one place that I recommend you head to, and that is the team over on Grants Mill Road, Dr. Jeff, Dr. Brian, and Dr. Nolan. That is a fierce trio right there, and it is going to do the job for you at Alabama Dental Associates, providing you all sorts of services when it comes to staying on top of your dental health. Whether you have major work that needs to be done, or maybe you just need to get on top of those regular cleanings, you've been putting it off, you haven't been getting checked out, head on over there to Alabama Dental Associates. They are there for you. If you're new in town, need to make sure you have a dentist on standby, reach out and try Alabama Dental Associates for yourself. They're accepting new patients now and can help you feel at ease about all of your upcoming dental procedures. For more information, to make an appointment, call 205 956 8977 or visit alabamadental.com where they look forward to seeing you. Let's continue on. We got some more Hot Tuesday headlines. Here we go. Hawk Tua. Haley Welch is back on social media with an Instagram post that's weird.
Cringe.
It's very
I'm still frustrated with you that you sent this to me.
technically Hunter Bussey sent it to me and I just passed it along to you. But it is painful.
Hunter, why?
Yeah, it's Hunter's fault.
I,
Yep, I know. He's the worst at casting James Bond too. Anyway, yeah. I also have major issues with Hunter, and I'm not sure we're going to have an initiation to see if he ever truly becomes part of the hashtag Wang Gang. But we will work that out. Anyway, he sent this link today showing that Haley Welch is very much alive, which I still have questions about whether or not that's the case because I feel like this could be faked. But
I didn't know that was even a theory.
yeah,
That she was dead.
well, she had that whole crypto thing, right?
Yeah, I thought she was just ducking her head in the sand until that blew over.
This is saying that that is the case. But a lot of people thought she got because, and if we keep talking about this, we're going to end up in a Haley Welch Instagram post. But
Oh, that'd
basically
be cool. Yep. Follow us now, Hawk Tua fans.
she basically put out a video saying I'm not dead and I'm not behind bars by pretending to be dead and pretending to be behind bars in the video. Why are we talking about this? Because Hunter sent it, and I just thought it was like somewhat culturally relevant because Hawk Tuah was a thing in 2024 that no one will be able to ever fully explain or understand how that became a thing. But here we are.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
how long before she puts out an album?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if she's gonna go that
That
route.
would be rough.
I think she's gonna go a different route. I do think that if crypto had any future regulations in place, Haley Welch is behind bars. Like,
I don't know how many Hawk Tuah fans there really are. Like, I know there are people that probably are just fans of anybody notable, anybody for clout, anybody, and that
yeah.
if they saw Hawk Tuah somewhere, they'd be like, "Oh, Hawk Tuah." But like, how many like diehard fans does Hawk Tuah have? I don't know that answer. I can't wrap my head around that.
Well, see, here's the thing. What are they fans of? Like just the Talk to a podcast and like whatever dating advice and bits of her life she
I,
shares on that.
no, that was more of a response to I've got to do something with the fandom that I've created. It wasn't like people became fans of her because of that. It's like
Oh,
I don't. It's just the virality of her clip, and then sort of what she's been associated with, and that's that.
Charles says Tiger King, Hawk Tua, what's next? We'll see the difference between Tiger King and Hawk Tua is Tiger King actually like built a business. He ran it very poorly.
It's bad when every year you have to then look back and go like Tiger King's actually the sane one of this bunch. It's like
Yeah, the the polygamous meth head that owns tigers
right.
was the smart one
Yeah.
all along.
Yeah, that's where we're at here as the years go by. So, thank you, internet. We move on to this. 5 years after wiring $11 million to director Carl, Eric, Wrench for a sci-fi series that never got made, Netflix is saying, can we please have that money back? The director was arrested last week on charges of fraud and money laundering for allegedly using the cash for lavish purchases from cars, which makes sense, to a $28,000 sofa. Now,
What?
that's what I want to know. Like, is it just because it's a designer sofa, or like, I bet you that thing is uncomfortable. What do you want to bet?
I'm willing to bet it is, and it's more like an artwork
Yeah.
installation type deal. But I have seen very expensive sort of sofa area type deals where it's like a sunken like cushion, basically.
Like that the Talk to Me kids would sit on, all waiting for their turn at the hand. No, I'm just kidding.
Like I don't know how to explain it. It's like a pit that you build in your living room, essentially. I don't.
I just thought of it, by the way. Why don't we have a crossover between, we could have this $28,000 sofa in the next Talk to Me, and we call it Talk to a Me.
That's the sequel.
And it's
There
got
it is.
Hawk Tua in it, and it all works out. All these stories could meld together. That's more likely to be a success than any Street Fighter project on screen anytime soon. But yeah, the $28,000 sofa. Anyway, he's out on a $100,000
Oh,
bond.
I found
You found it?
I found the picture not of their sofa, but of the sofa I was talking about. It is apparently called a conversation pit, and is apparently a throwback to the 1970s, where living rooms would be a bit more closed in, so people were forced to talk to each other instead of just watching TV.
Okay.
So
Sounds awful.
there it is, right there. I've seen nicer ones than that, but that's just to give you guys an idea of the shape of what was in my mind.
Hmm.
Seen rappers, a lot of rappers flex some nice looking conversation pit areas.
Hmm.
So I imagine they're expensive.
Yeah. How do you get into that thing, by the way? Is there an
I
opening?
guess you just like jump in, or is there like a gate?
All right. Should have a sign saying no diving. But
No,
I don't know what you
no
do.
running, no diving.
I don't know how to get into that thing. I would be genuinely terrified to just roll on the ground into it and just try not to hit everybody with my legs. I don't know, it looks awful.
Yeah, I've seen some that are more like the regular couch cushion, and then that inner square area that you see that is like the floor where your feet would be dangling
Yeah.
is just more cushion.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Well, that looks horrendous.
little tangent there.
Sure. The director, by the way, out on a $100,000 bond due to be arraigned in federal court in New York on April 3rd. We go to this. This is a positive headline. We're leaning back into positive territory now. So Christopher Nolan is working on this movie, The Odyssey. I think that's what they're going to call it, but it may be called Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. I don't know what they're going to call it, but we're calling it The Odyssey, and it's in production, and it's got an all-star cast, incredible cast, and one of the actors in the cast is John Leguizamo, most notably known for playing.
Luigi in Super Mario Brothers.
That is correct. He says we're in sync today.
More specifically, Luigi Mario,
There we
because their
go.
last name's
Correct.
Mario.
Correct. Christopher Nolan, according to John Leguizamo, he says, manages to make the production feel like an independent film, saying, quote, dude, the thing is, okay, he's got a crazy budget. It's not small, but he runs it like an indie film because he's not doing it by committee. He's not doing it by what the studio says. That is the power of Christopher Nolan.
Yep, he is bigger than all the studios.
Correct. And
They need him more than he needs them.
And Universal is A-okay with it because he just made a $1 billion picture in Oppenheimer, basically. A little shy of $1 billion. A couple more re-releases. Let's make it happen. And won multiple Academy Awards. So he gets the free reign, right? It's not that tough of a thing to conceive. We talked about Joker Folia Do. Todd Phillips got free reign because he did that. Made $1 billion, got a bunch of Oscars, have at it. The only problem is Todd Phillips had a plan of destroying Warner Brothers through that project. Christopher Nolan only wants to make excellent work, and he's going to deliver another home run situation for Universal probably. And then there's going to be a bidding war, and Amazon may end up landing him because I really do think there's no better time to strike on Christopher Nolan leading Bond than right now. You have no Bond cast, you have full creative control that you can hand over to him. The entire world would be on board with Christopher Nolan getting that gig. So I think that's going to happen after the Odyssey. And the day that that happens, we may just start 3 hours early that day or something. I'd say 3 hours early. That wouldn't actually work.
I think there's 3 people that'll
Yeah.
take issue with that.
Yeah. I don't know, but I'll be looking at you, Tyler, going, we have to start right now and get on the air because it's a day of celebration. Christopher Nolan has secured the direction of Bond and its future, but he's going to make this an event. The first teaser trailer that comes out, he's going to get everybody super excited. Like Oppenheimer on paper should not have been a movie that got people excited. But the fact that you can use Christopher Nolan as a way to promote a film, just his name attached to it alone, much less the cast, this is going to be a huge event yet again. And while nobody may be asking for this source material to be adapted, people are not going to realize how much they want it until they start to see it.
I would yes, I would argue that this is something people want and they don't know about it yet.
Correct.
I've seen a lot of more literature nerds saying that this is inspiring them to want other classic works of literature modernized. I've seen one that I think would be fantastic is if you took Dante's The Divine Comedy and gave it to Robert Eggers.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
he makes atmospheric horror movies
Lord knows he
filled
wouldn't.
with dread.
Yeah.
What is more dreadful than the circles of hell?
He's not going to want to modernize it at all. So, I
Well,
mean,
I
it's
mean,
perfect.
not modernize it. That's probably wrong word for it, but
Yeah.
adapt it.
Yeah, no, you didn't say that. I'm just thinking to myself, like, that wouldn't be a problem with him because he
Yes.
wants to keep it in its original text
Yes,
basically
absolutely.
every time. So, yeah, I would watch like a sitcom, a Robert Eggers sitcom that's set in the 13th century where he's just, for some reason we have cameras set up like a stage. For some reason, that sounds fun to me. We go to
That would be
this.
fun.
Speaking of weird time travel and stuff, Assassin's Creed Shadows became the franchise's second highest selling title ever at launch when it came out, I think last week.
Hmm.
You're suspect of this. You don't buy into this.
I'm pressing X to doubt.
Okay.
Let's say.
It's a great reference. Tell me why.
No Assassin's Creed game has ever gotten more backlash prior to its release than this one. There's been plenty of online chatter complaints about Ubisoft because they're running that franchise into the ground. But there was legitimate outcry from not only fans of the franchise, but the Japanese government because of how they have decided to build this game and some of the choices they've made regarding cultural sensitivities of Japan and whatnot, and respecting the history. So no, I don't buy it. I think they're looking to try and increase their asking price for Assassin's Creed because Ubisoft is actually looking for another developer to buy Assassin's Creed from them.
Well, maybe you're right. Maybe they're cooking the books a
So
little bit.
I think they're cooking the books. Also, there's just no hype for Assassin's Creed anymore.
And I know you get frustrated with this. Everyone should. But I know this is a real tipping point for you that, like, a lot of studios, whether they're game developers or Hollywood studios or streamers, they all promote these massive numbers. But there's really no way, because they control all the data, to know exactly if that's the case.
Yeah, there's no way to verify
Yeah.
this.
So you can claim anything.
Yes.
There we go. All right. Assassin's Creed Shadows. I've never been a huge Assassin's Creed fan, ever. Even though I think when I got my Xbox One,
Mhm.
it came with 2 Assassin's Creed games in the bundle, I think.
probably came with Unity and something else.
Black Flag was one of them, and
Yep,
Unity was the
Black
other.
Flag and Unity. I
Yeah.
got that same bundle when I got my Xbox One.
Yep.
Black Flag, really good game.
I thought it was good.
Unity is why I quit playing Assassin's Creed
Yeah. It's a
because
mixed bag there.
I was a big fan of the entire run of games up until Unity.
Oh.
I was an OG of
Oh.
Assassin's
So
Creed.
it really soured you.
Oh yeah.
All right. Let's go to this. Miley Cyrus has announced she has an upcoming album, Something Beautiful, releasing May 30th. Are you a fan of Miley Cyrus at all?
Uh, no, I wouldn't say I'm just like anti Miley Cyrus.
Yeah. To be fair, this was written to be a
Th-
major EG question,
yes.
and you have been saddled with it.
Um, you know, I think she's a great performer. I think she is someone that really wants to give the fans what they want in shows.
Yeah.
I saw a clip recently of one of her old tours where she had like this giant like mouth prop and there was a tongue that came out and like she would slide down off the tongue onto the stage as her entrance and her tour lost money because of that. But everybody who was at that show would probably say like that was the craziest thing I've ever seen and it's a lifelong memory for them. So I respect the dedication to her fans. Um
I'm actually like, if your opinion of Miley Cyrus is the same as it was 13 years ago, I can understand that because that was a really public change going from the Hannah Montana days
yes.
to working with
Robin Thicke.
Robin Thicke,
Blurred Lines.
Dr. Seaver's son out there. And it was a big overnight change. And then everybody, like, I don't want to be over dramatic, but the fact that Miley Cyrus is still with us is kind of a miracle based on
It
the fact that
really
she went
is.
on a rough run there for a while of like, I'm going to do the most outlandish things possible. Now, how much of that was just public image and how much of that was true to who she was becoming? You know, it's amazing Billy Ray Cyrus is with us. Like,
Yeah.
because he's gone through a rough stretch here lately. So, Miley Cyrus is a great artist. I'm going to go ahead and put that out there. I mean, she's an incredible vocalist. She is tremendous at her craft.
Mhm.
She just had to go through that phase of being outlandish, almost like it wasn't Lady Gaga didn't go the same route, but Lady Gaga is the same sort of story of like she had to do outlandish things all the time in
The
order to
meat
draw attention.
dress.
The meat dress. Now, none of them were like offensively
Mhm.
outlandish. Miley Cyrus went more into the offensive, like, let me really make people uncomfortable phase.
Well, I feel like that's also because the image she was saddled with
Hmm.
when she tried to start her solo career post Disney was, the child
Yeah.
like squeaky clean image. So she had to really go the total opposite direction further than anyone ever would have
Well,
in
she
that
did.
space. And
She
she
did.
did.
Mission accomplished, and now she's on the other side, and we'll see what this album has in store for us May 30th.
If you like her vocals, I would recommend checking out her cover of "Everybody Wants to Rule the World" from Tears for Fears.
Bet that's really good. I haven't
It
heard it.
is really good.
Yeah, I think she's a tremendous performer. I really do. And her work in The Last Showgirl with Pamela Anderson at the end, I was not expecting a Miley Cyrus
Mhm.
song to pop up during the credits. Fantastic. It's a fantastic song. So, anyway, Miley Cyrus. We move on to this. Former Impractical Joker star Joe Gatto has issued a response after a woman posted a sexual assault allegation against the 48-year-old comedian over TikTok last week, saying, quote, I have used poor judgment and as a result have violated the trust of the people I love most. But anyone who knows me at all knows full well that I wouldn't assault anyone. Working on myself is an ongoing process, and I am now going to take some time away from the public eye to focus my energies where I need to. So basically admits to, I've done awful things, but sexual assault is not one of them. Now, he has a publicist, he has a team. There's no doubt that this was crafted by all of them. Do you have any problem with having these crafted responses put out on social media as if they're originating directly from the individual? Does any part of that not feel genuine to you?
I mean, you can argue that it's less authentic than me picking up my phone and just tweeting it. But when you're in that position, every word is going to be picked over and scrutinized.
100%.
And so you really have to choose your words carefully and not just be like knee-jerk reaction to a situation like that. Um, Joe left Impractical Jokers a couple years back. Split with his wife. There was rumored to be infidelity involved.
Supposedly
So
they got back together.
supposedly they got back together. When I heard this statement, it was almost I almost took it as an admission of them having some relationship, but he's saying everything was on the up and up. And then there's also this girl is going on TikTok
Yeah.
and has been, going on and on. It's like, oh, this happened, but never says like what actually happened. It's just like crazy things.
Well, now there is a second woman that has come out,
Oh, dang.
a former employee, saying that he also showed inappropriate behavior to her, talked about, how he would constantly promote that he was in an open marriage and like everything was good and come cuddle and all that stuff. These are the allegations. And um, it, I was never the biggest Impractical Jokers fan, but I know there are a lot of Impractical Jokers fans that are seeing this story. Do you think it sullies that experience at all for them in the least bit? The fact that, I mean, it's on reruns. How many times does an Impractical Jokers episode run a day on basic
I
cable?
mean, it runs True TV.
I mean, every single day you can find basically a marathon of Impractical Jokers playing somewhere.
And I have just watched Impractical Jokers for hours on end before because they're great episodes, great bits, great challenges. Yeah, this sucks. This really sucks because it's oh gosh, I don't want to bring the situation up again, but it's like the Jonathan Majors situation. He's accused, tried, convicted of domestic abuse. And then I rock up to the screen unseen to see him basically playing a socially awkward incel that's violent. So that was disturbing, and so it's gonna be the same situation here where there's these stories of Joe harassing people and getting a little too close, a little too touchy. It's gonna be difficult to turn on Impractical Jokers
Have a good
and
laugh.
have a good laugh where he's gonna be harassing, getting too close, getting too touchy with total strangers
Mm,
for the bit.
mm. Yeah. And Magazine Dreams ended up making no money this past weekend. I mean,
Yes.
it tanked hard. Nobody went to go see it.
Mhm,
A lot of people don't even know what it is or like that it's even playing.
mhm.
So it's almost no marketing spin on that movie. Impractical Jokers is a different type of animal in that Impractical Jokers feels like it's marketed every single minute of every single day somewhere. Like, I mean, it's just constantly being put in our face. So you're right that there may be, I think that fans of the show, based on the allegations, are gonna feel pretty much okay watching it
Mhm.
until more comes out or
Right.
until like will there be a third accuser, will there be a fourth, will it be a situation where there's charges of any sort, like once we start getting into that phase I think it will really start to affect the legacy of the show. But right now I feel like most people, they put it on, they laugh, go about their day, and that's that. But us being here covering all these topics, thoroughly, I can see where it would put you in a situation where you kind of feel the same way he did feel while watching Magazine Dreams there. So
Mm.
anyway, there we have it. I have one more story, but I really want to wait for EG for this one. I really want to see what her opinion is on it. And she's not going to be here. It's official. She's
Okay.
not going to make it today.
I keep looking over
Yeah.
the door like, "Man,
Yeah.
that traffic on 459 is brutal."
No,
Or
she's been working really hard covering Auburn's pro day for the past 2 days. She's been on the road. She got stuck in traffic. She's been really stressed to not be here in Meldonia. So everybody sort of wish EG well. She will be with us tomorrow on the show, reportedly. I said that yesterday.
I guess she's not stuck on 459 then. I forget
She's
she was in
not.
Auburn and not Tuscaloosa.
She's not. I think it's all easing up right now with her travel back here. It would have been 280, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's awful all the way.
always awful there. One thing that is not awful, that is the deposit bonus that you're going to get by using promo code next round over at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Their current sign-up bonus, 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. Yes, that is 1000 plus a $10 casino chip there when you use promo code next round signing up at MyBookie. We're going to end this by going to the audience. We got Tyler with a chat check-in. What you got for us, Tyler?
We got some love for Black Flag Assassin's Creed, from Hunter, from Russell, and Hunter also says movement and graphics is great in Unity. Yeah, sure, sure.
So you hate Hunter 2 now? I mean,
I'm not gonna say that. I mean, you can say that.
no, Hunter knows.
I'm disagreeing with his opinions on Assassin's Creed, other than Black Flag being good. And then Saber, back to the Sinners conversation, says this is why you should adhere to the Saber method of trailer watching. And I think I'm gonna join you in that method.
But it's difficult because we have to comment on the way things are trending with, like, it's tough.
Yeah.
Like, we're stuck in this weird thing where we've got to have like some sort of knowledge of what's coming up in the cinematic landscape to the point where it's tough for us to avoid all the marketing and then actually talk about it. So that's been sort of the tug of war situation we find ourselves in. I would love to do the Saber method if I didn't have to talk about this stuff every day.
Oh yeah.
But the fact that I've got to have a little bit of a common knowledge of like what's coming out and what we can get excited for. I'm super excited for Sinners. I'm still super excited for Sinners. Sinners has not lost me as a ticket purchaser. I just wish I would have seen a little bit less in trailer number 2.
Yeah.
Because there's some major turns in there that I'm like, whoa, that would have been great in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, stop.
Yeah, trailer 1 was awesome because you really just get a couple of like ominous lines of dialogue and then a shot of Michael B. Jordan with a Tommy gun.
Yeah.
That is all you need to sell me on the movie.
All you need to see.
And then
Ryan Coogler,
yeah,
Michael B. Jordan are teaming up. I'm in.
Yeah.
Where do I sign? One of the best director-actor combos we've ever gotten. And I'm not exaggerating. I mean, exceptional director-actor combo. So I'm all in on Sinners. I don't need to know anything else about it. Let me go get my popcorn. Let me get my soda. Let me sit down. Like, I'm super jazzed up for Sinners.
And then trailer 2 is just like, hang on, let me explain the entire movie to you.
Let me show you major things.
Major plot points.
Major things that I'm like, whoa, hold on now. But I guess they understand the tracking and they know what they've got to show to try to get people energized. And it's been all over the NCAA tournament coverage of like Sinners coming out, April.
I mean, I guess it would be harder to get people in if they thought it was like just like a period piece and not a period piece with vampires.
Yeah. Vampires they're having a moment right now.
They are having a moment. And, maybe werewolves will come back too with our boy Robert Eggers working on his movie Werewolf.
I'm looking at 2 horror movies that open up this weekend, like we mentioned. Death of a Unicorn, which you had seen last night. Currently at 63% on Rotten Tomatoes, which once again with horror movies doesn't really mean much.
Yeah.
And The Woman in the Yard currently does not have any sort of tomato meter associated with it. But I promise you, before The Woman in the Yard, we will get that Sinners trailer that I can't stand playing before that because it's the same target audience.
Absolutely.
Same target audience. So anyway, that's going to do it for us here on The Meltdown. We greatly appreciate all of your support, all of your interaction. You guys provide some great context there in the chat, and I wish we could get to every single chat that is sent in, but unfortunately, especially with the 2-man crew, a little bit of a difficult thing to do, but I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation today. If you're a big fan of the conversation, don't forget we're in podcast form. Tyler, where can people find the audio version of what we do every day? Maybe you're listening on the road, you could only watch half of us. You're going home in the evening, you're leaving work. We constantly have people go, oh man, I'm stuck at work. I got a meeting. I can't catch the show. You can listen in podcast form. Tell the people how that's done.
Well, you can go on any major podcast platform, your Apple Podcast, your Spotify, your Amazon, your iHeart, whatever you prefer. But the 2 biggest ones and the easiest ways to consume us are on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you go down to the description of any Meltdown video, you will find links to both of them. All you got to do is click it. It'll open your app on your smartphone, and you just click that little follow button, and then you won't miss anything.
Good stuff there. Really appreciate all of you loyal Meltdonians making it happen out there. Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we will see you again tomorrow. Me, Tyler, and EG, I promise you. 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern on Wednesday. We'll see you there.